In the quiet hills of southern Italy, where ancient olive trees whisper prayers to the wind, a humble Capuchin friar's life continues to illuminate our spiritual paths decades after his passing. Today, I invite you into Padre Pio's sacred world, a realm where the veil between heaven and earth grows thin, where faith becomes tangible, and healing transcends the physical to touch the deepest chambers of the human heart. Padre Pio, 1887–1968, carried the visible wounds of Christ's crucifixion, the stigmata, for 50 remarkable years. These mysterious markings appeared during prayer on September 20, 1918, transforming his hands, feet, and side into living witnesses of divine mystery. Yet beyond this extraordinary sign lived a soul completely surrendered to divine love and dedicated to easing the suffering of all who crossed his path. His days began in the darkness before dawn, often spending 5 hours in prayer before celebrating Massa daily communion that witnesses described as a profound participation in Christ's passion. As word of his gifts spread, thousands journeyed to San Giovanni Rotondo seeking healing, wisdom, and spiritual renewal. In the golden summer of 1956, at his Casa Sollievo della Sofferenza, House for the Relief of Suffering, a hospital born from his vision and the collective faith of countless believers, a woman named Maria arrived with advanced tuberculosis that had ravaged her lungs and spread relentlessly to her bones. Her skin had grown pale as parchment, her breathing labored, her future measured in weeks rather than years. Medical science, with all its modern advancements, offered little beyond palliative comfort. When Maria's husband Giuseppe knelt in the small chapel where Padre Pio spent his evenings in prayer, his heart heavy with grief and hope intertwined, the friar approached him with eyes that seemed to see beyond the visible world. "Have faith," Padre Pio whispered, his voice gentle yet carrying unmistakable authority. "True healing begins where human hope ends." The following morning, as sunlight filtered through stained glass, casting jeweled patterns across the hospital corridor, Padre Pio visited Maria's room. Those present would later recall how the air itself seemed to change as he entered, a subtle fragrance of roses accompanying his presence like an invisible announcement of grace. Without ceremony or dramatic gestures, he sat beside her bed, took her fever-warm hand in his stigmata-marked palms, and prayed in profound silence. After several minutes, his eyes, described by many as windows to eternity, looked directly into hers. "The Lord sees your suffering," he whispered with tender compassion. "He holds every tear you've shed as precious. Nothing is wasted in his divine economy of grace." Before departing, he made the sign of the cross over her chest, precisely where the most aggressive lesions had been documented in her medical charts. "The body's healing often begins in the soul's surrender," he said. "Remember, child, prayer is the oxygen of the soul." What followed defied medical explanation. Within 3 days, Maria's fever subsided completely. The lesions visible on previous X-rays began to diminish like morning mist before sunrise. She could stand unassisted within a week, and eventually, comprehensive tests revealed no trace of the tuberculosis that had been consuming her from within. She returned home to her family and lived another 47 vibrant years, enough time to witness her children's weddings, welcome grandchildren, and share her testimony with countless pilgrims seeking their own miracle. Yet when visitors later approached Padre Pio about such extraordinary healings, he consistently redirected attention from himself with characteristic humility. "I have not healed anyone," he would say, his eyes lowered. "I have only prayed. It is God who heals, I who merely stand at the threshold of his mercy." Wisdom Pathway, core teachings for our spiritual journey. The sacred dialogue of prayer. For Padre Pio, prayer transcended mere words or ritual repetition. It created an intimate communion with the Divinia, sacred space, where transformation becomes not only possible but inevitable. Prayer, he taught, is not a formula but a meeting between hearts. This meeting required presence rather than perfection, authenticity rather than eloquence. Reflection framework. Begin with presence rather than requests, allowing yourself to simply be held in divine awareness. Trust that you are heard beyond words. In the language of the heart, allow silence to deepen your connection, creating space for wisdom to emerge. Practice consistency rather than intensity. Padre Pio valued daily faithful prayer over sporadic fervor. His own prayer life revealed this depth. Witnesses described how during prayer, his face would sometimes become transfigured with light, particularly during the consecration at Mass. Yet he maintained that such experiences were not the goal but rather natural outgrowths of sincere communion. Prayer is the best weapon we possess, the key that opens the heart of God. Padre Pio. Embracing suffering as transformation. Though renowned for his healing gifts, Padre Pio offered perhaps his most profound teaching through his relationship with suffering. For 50 years, he experienced not only the visible stigmata, but also constant physical pain, fevers, and spiritual trials, including intense darkness and temptation. Yet he understood suffering not as punishment but as potentially transformative when approached with faith. Suffering, he often counseled those in pain, becomes destructive only when we suffer alone. Suffered with Christ, it becomes a mysterious pathway to resurrection. Growth practice. Notice resistance to discomfort without judgment, allowing difficult emotions to be present without being consumed by them. Ask with genuine curiosity, what might this challenge be teaching me that I couldn't learn through comfort alone? Recognize how past difficulties have expanded your capacity for compassion and deepened your spiritual resilience. Practice offering your suffering as a prayer for others who carry similar burdens. His own relationship with physical pain modeled this approach. Once, when asked why he didn't pray for his own healing, he replied with characteristic insight, "Do you think I haven't? But some gifts come wrapped in unexpected packages. The cross will not crush you. If its weight makes you stagger, its power will also sustain you." Padre Pio. Integrating faith and practical action. Perhaps one of Padre Pio's most revolutionary contributions was demonstrating the harmonious integration of mystical experience and practical service. He established a modern hospital with cutting-edge medical technology, demonstrating his belief that divine healing works through both miraculous intervention and dedicated human service. This integration offers a powerful corrective to both magical thinking, expecting God to act without our participation, and materialist reductionism, believing only in what can be measured and controlled. Padre Pio inhabited the sacred middle path where heaven and earth collaborate in the work of healing and transformation. Living integration. Honor both spiritual intuition and practical wisdom as complementary rather than competing voices. Recognize everyday acts of service, preparing a meal, listening attentively, offering encouragement as sacred expressions of divine love. Allow grace to flow through ordinary moments, transforming routine tasks into opportunities for presence and connection. Practice being a channel rather than a source, offering your hands, heart, and mind as instruments of healing without attachment to outcomes. Soul nourishment. Padre Pio's timeless guidance. On trusting divine timing. God's time is perfect. He has his own way and his own timing for making things new. Padre Pio understood the mystery of divine timing, that the Creator works within a tapestry of interconnected purposes beyond our limited perception. In a culture of instant gratification and impatience, this wisdom offers a profound invitation to trust the unfolding process of growth and healing. Reflection question. Where in your life are you struggling with impatience or feeling that transformation isn't happening quickly enough? Consider how past delays eventually revealed unexpected gifts or deeper understanding. What might be developing beneath the surface of your current waiting? On finding peace amid uncertainty. Pray, hope, and don't worry. Worry is useless. God is merciful and will hear your prayer. Perhaps Padre Pio's most beloved counsel. These words offer practical guidance for navigating life's inevitable uncertainties. He understood that anxiety consumes the very energy needed for faithful presence and constructive action, creating a spiral of fear that obscures divine guidance. Daily practice. When anxiety arises, pause for 3 conscious breaths. With each inhale, receive what you need: peace, clarity, strength. With each exhale, release what no longer serves: fear, tension, the illusion of control. Then ask, what is the next faithful step I can take, however small? On embracing life's challenges. The more you are afflicted, the more you ought to rejoice, because in the fire of tribulation the soul will become pure gold. This counterintuitive wisdom reflects Padre Pio's understanding that our greatest difficulties often become doorways to our deepest growth. The very experiences we might wish to avoid often contain precisely the lessons our souls most need for maturation and transformation. Transformation insight. Consider a current challenge through this lens of potential transformation. Rather than asking, how can I escape this difficulty? Try asking, how might this difficulty be inviting me into greater wholeness, compassion, or wisdom? This shift in perception often reveals hidden gifts within apparent setbacks. Living wisdom. embracing Padre Pio's legacy in daily life. How might we embody this healing presence in our own lives? Consider these pathways. 1. Cultivate sacred awareness. Begin each day with even 5 minutes of silent presence. This creates space for wisdom to emerge beyond the noise of urgent demands. Padre Pio taught that this consistent practice of returning to Source sustains us through life's inevitable storms. The ship that is anchored in one place will survive the tempest, he often said, while the one that is carried about by the winds is in danger. 2. Practice compassionate presence. When encountering others' suffering, resist the urge to fix or advise. Instead, offer the medicine of your full attention, a gift increasingly rare in our distracted world. Padre Pio's healing ministry began not with dramatic miracles, but with his capacity to be fully present to each person before him, seeing beyond their external condition to their essential dignity and worth. 3. Trust the unfolding journey. Remember Padre Pio's words, "True healing begins where human hope ends." This paradoxical wisdom invites us beyond control into profound trust, not that everything will align with our preferences, but that love remains active even in our darkest nights. When facing uncertainty, practice saying, "I don't know how this will unfold, but I know who holds the future." 4. Embrace small acts of faith. Padre Pio's healing ministry didn't begin with dramatic miracles, but with consistent daily practice. Faithfulness in small things, he taught, prepares the soul for greater works. What small, faithful action might you commit to today? Perhaps reaching out to someone in need, practicing gratitude in a challenging relationship, or setting aside time for spiritual nourishment. Reflection Invitation 1. As our journey with Padre Pio's wisdom draws to a close, I invite you to pause in sacred stillness and consider, what aspect of Padre Pio's approach to healing resonates most deeply with your current life circumstances? How might you incorporate this wisdom into your daily practice? Where might you be invited to deepen your trust in divine timing? What would it look like to surrender control while remaining actively engaged? How might you become a healing presence for someone in your life today? Remember that sometimes the greatest healing comes through simple presence rather than dramatic intervention. May the profound peace that radiated through Padre Pio's wounded hands touch your own journey with gentle grace. And may we all become more authentic channels of compassion in a world hungry for healing, remembering his words, "Love is the first ingredient in the relief of suffering." In the sacred silence of this moment, may you feel the tender blessing of divine presence surrounding you, guiding your steps, and illuminating your path with purpose and peace.